Testing, testing, test. All right, here we go with your pages 80 and 81 half assignments because I'm only having you do the first half of them. So for all of them, you're going to do the Spanish answer, skip a line, and the English translation. So on page 80, you're going to do exercise 7, just numbers 1 through 4. Page 80, exercise 8, you're going to do the first 4 going straight across. And page 81, exercise 9, you're going to do 1 through 4. I'm now going to go into a more in-depth explanation of each one and also include the exercises here. Okay, so you do not have to do the directions because look, I'm doing them here for you. Some people are insisting that others do certain things. Express this following the model. So if we look at the model, these were the words that are given to the person doing the model. And you take these words and turn them into a sentence. La cliente is the subject, so then I conjugate desear, which means to desire. And of course, it's going to go into the present indicative, desea. And then I'm about to change subjects from the client to the waiter. This is another way to say waiter. So what do I need to put between the two subjects? Que. Then el camarero. So I have a change in subject, I have que, and let's see if I have a reason. Well, in these sentences, I have for the verbs desear, querer, insistir, exigir, oponerse, and preferir. Knowing my notes, I know that all of these come from the expressions of volition section, which is a reason to use the subjunctive as long as I have a subject change in K. So look at this. I need to use the subjunctive here. So I'm going to take the present indicative yo of traer, which is traigo, drop the O, and I'm left with this, and then I have to add the opposite ending. Well, the opposite ending for the waiter is as a la cuenta. So that's what you guys have to do for these sentences. So you will use the subjunctive in the subordinate clause for all of these because they're using expression or volition. Your skip line English, the client or the customer desires that the waiter bring the bill. Here's number 1, number 2, number 3, and number 4. Go ahead and press pause for as long as you need to so that you can do this exercise. I'm moving on to the next exercise. Okay, for page 80, exercise 8, we're going to make 4 sentences going straight across. So, let's look at the directions. You have to express what the people of column A hope of the people of column C. Use the words and expressions from columns B and D. So you can either look at your book or you can look here. Here I'm giving you a little bit of help. What do these main clause verbs require that you use? Well, let's see. If I'm looking at the book, my verbs in the first 4 sentences are pedir, rogar, aconsejar, and recomendar. So if I go to my subjunctive train ticket, here's 2 of them. There's a star here. Here are some more. They've got stars. What do these stars mean? These stars mean that I need an IOP in my sentences, and I'm going to be looking for that when I grade it. So you do, in fact, need an IOP. Let's go back to the exercise. In the Modelo sentence, here are the 4 things that they're using to make a sentence. So you get, in the main clause, the guide recommends, because you conjugate your verb for your subject, and the guide recommends to the tourists. But if something is happening to or for someone, you must have an IOP. So what IOP do I need? Well, it's happening to the tourists, so I want lace, and I'm going to put it here, and let me caret that in, before recomienda, because it's a conjugated verb. So in my main clause, I have, oops, a terrible looking box. The guide recommends to the tourists that they visit the museum because it's hope, will, or wish, volition. Over here in the subordinate clause, I need the subjunctive of visitar. Yo, drop the yo, opposite ending. So that's what you're going to be doing for these sentences. And then, of course, you're going to skip a line, English sentence. The guide recommends to the tourists that they visit the Prado Museum. Sentence number 1, here's the information you're working with to make your sentence. Sentence number 2, here's the information to write your sentence. 3, all the verbs you need. And 4, all the verbs and words that you need for this one. So that's exercise 8 on page 80. And here we have the last exercise. Exercise 9 on page 81, just numbers 1 through 4. The directions that I want you to follow are to say if it is blank or not that the following people do what is indicated between parentheses. I want you to put the subject in the subordinate clause for all sentences. The subordinate clause starts with K, so I want the subject after that. And I want you to use the last 8 impersonal expressions, sentence starters from our train ticket, starting with es justo que. So if I go to my subjunctive notes, and here are my impersonal expressions, I need the last 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's only 7 here. So I'm going to start here with es justo que. It's going to be my first one, and my second, third, fourth, and so on and so forth. Alright, so back to the assignment. You're going to be writing 2 sentences for each one because there are 2 different things in parentheses. So let's look at the modelo. In the modelo it says Clara quiere aprender francés. So of course on my paper I'm going to translate that. Of course you guys won't because it's the modelo. But it says Clara wants to learn French. Then I'm going to look at the information in parentheses. And it says ir a Paris. I'm going to think to myself, okay, that means to go to Paris. And in the modelo, they're using the phrase es necesario que. So if Clara wants to learn French, I'm going to ask myself, is it necessary that Clara go to Paris? Or is it not necessary that Clara go to Paris? Well, I'm going to say it's necessary. So es necesario que Clara. And then I'm going to take the yo form of ir, which is voy, and drop the o. I can't. It must be a dish. So I just know that it is vaya a Paris. Skip a line, write the English translation. It's necessary that Clara goes to Paris. Of course, if I don't feel like it's necessary, I can include my own opinion and say no es necesario. So that's what you're going to be doing for this exercise. You guys are going to be translating the given sentence from the book. Then you're going to write a sentence saying whether it is or it isn't fair, absurd, ridiculous, strange, whatever is on your train ticket for each sentence. And you're going to say if it is or it's not, your opinion as far as the information in parentheses. Let's look at number 1. Okay, so in sentence number 1, it gives you this sentence. I'm going to translate on my paper. I'm going to look at the information in parentheses, and then I'm going to say it is fair that I do it, or if I want to, I can put no in front, and I'm going to say, skip a line, English translation, and then for the next one I'm going to say it's absurd that I do this, or if I think it's not absurd, I'm going to put no in front, and of course put the verb in the subjunctive. But look again, we've got ir and saber, also dishes, so I have to make sure that I know what forms they are, or how they're spelled, what happens to them in the subjunctive. Let's look at number 2. Here's my given sentence. I'm going to translate that on my paper. I'm going to look at the 2 things in parentheses. Here are my sentence starters from my train ticket. It's ridiculous that we do this, or it's strange that we do that. And if I don't think it is ridiculous or strange, I'm going to put no in front. And I'm going to, of course, put my verb in the subordinate clause in the subjunctive because I have an opinion, a subject change, and K. Number 3, here's your information. And number 4, here's your information for your sentences. If you're thinking to yourself, I don't know what acabar de plus infinitive means, I would check the infinitive phrases on the inside flap of my book cover. And last but not least, here's the rubric you're going to make to be graded on this assignment. It's not a usual rubric, it's just going to be out of 20 points, and the things that you are earning points for, being marked off points for, is your pronunciation, the translations I ask you for, your answers, if you can explain why you did what you did, if it was complete, and if it's graded correctly. Any of those things can reduce your grade. And for the proper heading in the top right hand corner, here's what it is. These 3 exercises have been assigned to help you learn and practice the use of the subjunctive, any irregulars like your dishes, and prepare you for the quiz.